Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please, so we can begin the ceremony. The processional is led by members of Loyola's Quinlan School of Business faculty and members of the Dean's Party. Reverend Presidents, officers of the university, guests of honor, members of the faculty and administration, candidates for graduation, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 144th annual commencement of Loyola University Chicago for the Quinlan School of Business. Will everyone please stand, remove your caps, and join Miss Lillian Murphy in singing the national anthem. We ask that you remain standing until after the invocation is given.
Twilight has
It is now my privilege to present Nicole Camella, University Chaplain, who will give the invocation.
Let us pray. Loving Creator, we humbly invoke your presence today as we celebrate the diversity of gifts and talents in the class of 2014 and ask your blessing upon them. Bless all those family members, friends, and mentors who taught, nurtured, and challenged these graduates on their journey. God of all seasons, we send forth in great confidence these graduates, and we pray that they'll be models of servant leadership who embody a faith that does justice. Open up your creation and receive them with joy. In your name we pray. Amen.
It is now my pleasure to present Kathleen Getz, Dean of the Quinlan School of Business.
Thank you, Nicole. On behalf of the entire Quinlan community, I am honored to welcome all of you to this annual celebration of student achievement. Today marks the 92nd and 45th commencement ceremony of our undergraduate and graduate programs, respectively. I would especially like to welcome and thank the Reverend Michael J. Garanzini, President of Loyola, Dr. John Pellicero, our Provost, and Ms. Bethany McLean, our featured speaker, for joining us here today. I also would like to thank the Loyola Wind Ensemble and all those who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to orchestrate such a beautiful affair. In just a moment, you will hear from some very distinguished speakers. I invite you to reflect on their words, remember them, and use them to write your next chapter. Students, already you have accomplished so much, not just for yourselves, but also for others. You have traveled near and far, learning about business in Seattle and bringing books to Cambodia so that others can share in your insights. You have worked on your own businesses, whether through our student-run holding company, Loyola Limited, or the Quinlan Social Enterprise Competition, while helping others in Chicago to do the same. You have given just as much as you have received, rolling up your sleeves to improve community gardens, marketing fashion lines for at-risk women, tutoring disadvantaged youth, and sprucing up area schools so that others can experience learning just as you do. Through all of this, you have become more than polished professionals. You have become better people. You have developed the qualities that define a Quinlan graduate at graduation. You are effective, committed, and responsible leaders. You are equipped with the essential knowledge and skills to excel in business. You are engaged with just as much concern for society as for the bottom line. You are emboldened to make difficult decisions because they are the right decisions. You can listen, you can inspire, you can make a difference. And true to the word that defines today's ceremony, you're just getting started. Everyone, please join me in congratulating the class of 2014.
Thank you, Dean Getz. With pleasure, I present Ms. Gabriela Vilevska, candidate for the degree Bachelor of Business Administration, who will offer some remarks on behalf of the student community of the Quinlan School of Business.
Reverend President Garanzini, Provost Pellicero, Dean Getz, Ms. McLean, faculty, staff, guests, and my fellow graduates. Here we are. 4 years after sending in our enrollment deposits to Loyola University Chicago, we've made it. Surviving what seemed to be 4 unbearable winters, we have finally made it to this beautiful day. Through the countless Facebook and Instagram posts I've seen of people pulling all-nighters at the IC and taking study breaks to get that perfect picture of the sunrise, we've all learned, according to Victor Hugo, that even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise. An unforgettable professor, Eve Geroulis, once mentioned a quote by Heraclitus: "The only constant in the world is change. We've all changed in our 4 years here, as had our campus and the world around us. The Jesuit philosophy Loyola has immersed us in is sure to help us adjust as change continues. At our Lakeshore campus, we've gained incredible buildings, and at our Water Tower campus, we've broken ground on the Schreiber Center that will house our Quinlan School of Business. Although we were extremely sad to see Hamilton's closed, Loyola did replace it with the new Bar 63, and there was always Pico's. Also changing is the world around us. In the past few years, Obama was elected, Illinois legalized same-sex marriage, Steve Jobs passed away, the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup, and the Cubs won the World Series. Just kidding, like that will ever happen. Business, on the other hand, is moving towards a more ethical spectrum, where it is no longer just about business, but rather relationships between people. The curriculum here has made it about more than just the bottom line. Loyola has prepared us for this role by teaching value-based business and practicing service that promotes justice. The Jesuit education has turned us into leaders that are change makers, and it makes us want to take that extra step in the business world to make a difference. We live in a world of 8 billion people. You may be thinking, how are we going to change the lives of 8 billion people? Well, we start with one person, one project, and one community at a time. And according to the butterfly effect, our small impacts will shape destiny, because similar to the snowball effect, one small change today has a major effect tomorrow. In the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. Sitting amongst all of us are people who spent weeks or months doing service work in developing countries, people who slept only a few hours a night preparing for cases for case competitions, and people who went to school and worked full-time. It is such a great feeling to be part of a graduating class where everyone is so hardworking, motivated, competitive, and eager to be a better person. All of us have found passion in the work we've done or the projects we've pursued, and with this passion, we will enter the working world ready for the next chapter of our lives. And the best thing, it doesn't stop here. Loyola's community continues to grow as we move towards that next chapter with alumni and support, not just in Chicago, but also nationally and internationally. As we all walk across the stage today, we become the leaders of tomorrow. Some of us will start at Fortune 500 firms, and others will continue with school or travel or work for nonprofits. Some of us will stay in Chicago, a place we now call home, and others will travel across the country or the world to pursue their opportunities. Loyola's education has instilled in us a mind and strategy for business and a heart for the world. With this combination, we're guaranteed to power through any obstacle and succeed with every task. I hope that in your years here, you've really been able to understand what it means when Loyola says it offers a transformative education. President Barack Obama said, "Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek." We must be the change makers, the doers, the believers that make the positive impact on the world around us. Let's lead the extraordinary lives that Loyola's education has prepared us for. Maybe one of us can't change the 8 billion lives that exist in this world, but together we can change this world. We are the change that we look for in this world. So go out and see your vision fulfilled. Thank you.
Bardzo dobrze, Gabriela. Please turn off your cell phones once again. It is now my privilege to invite Dean Getz back to the podium to introduce our commencement speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce today's featured speaker, Ms. Bethany McLean. Ms. McLean's career has been rich and varied. After graduating from Williams College, she worked for Goldman Sachs, later joining the staff of Fortune magazine. Her big break came when she wrote the article, "Is Enron Overpriced?" in March 2001. This led to the exposure of one of the largest corporate scandals in American history. Her book, The Smartest Guys in the Room, provides further details of all the events that led up to Enron's downfall. An Oscar-nominated documentary with the same title followed. In 2010, Ms. McLean wrote her second book, All the Devils Are Here, giving a history of the 2008 financial crisis. Both works are featured learning tools in Quinlan classrooms. Currently, Ms. McLean is contributing editor at Vanity Fair, a columnist for Reuters, and a contributor at CNBC. She has appeared on a variety of television programs, including The NewsHour with Jim Lehrer, The Charlie Rose Show, The Colbert Report, and The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. We are honored to have her here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our guest and friend, Ms. Bethany McLean.
Reverend President Garanzini, Provost Pellicero, Dean Getz, parents and families, distinguished guests, and above all, the Loyola University Chicago Quinlan School of Business graduating class of 2014. I'm talking to all of you as someone who has somewhat accidentally made a career out of chronicling stories of business gone wrong. You obviously want to have a career in business gone right. So I'm going to share with you some of the lessons I've learned in my almost 20 years as a journalist, although I'm not sure I hope they are ever applicable to you. When I wrote about Enron, I was young, and I remember thinking that I now had remarkable insight into the world. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. I've since come to believe that this isn't just a cliche. It really is a remarkable lesson, but unfortunately one that we'll never learn. From Enron to the financial crisis, which really was the belief that mortgages could be made to people who couldn't pay them back, could be turned into the safest of securities. The common thread is this belief in something that in retrospect will clearly seem too good to be true. A second lesson is that stories of business gone wrong are generally a mix of self-delusion, some incompetence, a little grandiosity, venality, and maybe some outright corruption. But they are rarely as simple as people sitting in a dark room plotting to take down a company or the global financial system. As a journalist, you only wish you could find that moment. The moment when the Enron executives decided to destroy their company. The moments when the heads of global financial firms met in a dark, smoky room off Wall Street to discuss how to wreck the financial system. It doesn't happen. When I started calling former Enron employees for my first book, I thought I'd be able to say, "How'd you do it?" And they'd tell me how they made up the numbers. But most of them simply didn't have a clue. They had bought into the company's culture. And they didn't look up from their own work to see how it was or wasn't all fitting together. I remember talking to a guy named Charles who had been a pretty senior guy at Enron and had worked in investment banks before that. He was sophisticated. He had worked in a bunch of Enron's different businesses, and in each one he'd say to himself, "This makes no sense. This business is consuming cash." But then he'd go back to Enron's headquarters, which in London were built overlooking Buckingham Palace, and he'd say to himself, "Well, the money has to be coming from somewhere." Our intellects can be fooled by our eyes, and vice versa. What that also means is that most of the time, these people who later seem to be such villains didn't set out to be villains. Wrongdoing rarely presents itself to you as black and white. It's generally a shade of gray. Once you enter the gray zone, it can very quickly get darker and darker. But you can always rationalize to yourself that you're actually doing the right thing because you have some greater goal. For Jeff Skilling, the former CEO of Enron, who is now in jail, the greater good was keeping the stock price up. Angelo Mozillo, the former CEO of Countrywide, who would later become one of the public's favorite villains of the financial crisis, was a self-made man, the son of a Bronx butcher who started working in the mortgage business at age 14. He called Countrywide his baby, and he built it into the largest mortgage originator in the country. He had this huge belief in home ownership, which may have been misguided, but it was totally genuine. We have this quote from a former executive who said, Angelo, he totally believed, he'd say, "When I look a homeowner in the eye, I can tell if they'd pay." Would say, "Angelo, we don't even do a personal interview anymore. Would you stop saying you can see it in their eyes?" In Mozilla's case, he told people after the fact that Countrywide had to dive into the subprime business because they had to keep up. If Mozilla didn't make these loans, he probably would have lost his job because he wouldn't have been producing the profits that his competitors were. I find this a particularly scary comment on the state of American business, partly because it's true. There's an enormous amount of pressure to engage in behavior that seems to make the most money right now. The people we later see as villains have often deluded themselves into thinking that it is the greater good. Another lesson for me is that criminal guilt is a very different thing from ethical guilt. The last chapter of my book about Enron quotes a lot of people involved with the mess, all saying that they did nothing wrong. In a lot of cases, that was technically true. We wrote this: the larger message was that the wealth and power enjoyed by those at the top of the heap in corporate America, accountants, bankers, executives, lawyers, and members of corporate boards, demand no sense of broader responsibility. To accept those arguments is to embrace the notion that ethical behavior requires nothing more than avoiding the explicitly illegal, that refusing to see bad things happening in front of you makes you innocent, and that telling the truth is the same thing as making sure that no one can prove that you lied. I've always loved this quote from Joseph Conrad's Lord Jim: the real significance of crime is in its being a breach of faith with the community of mankind. I think another lesson is that you can't overestimate the amount of incompetence in the world, which in some ways is actually more frightening than outright criminality. Think about the financial industry and the crisis. Firms like Merrill Lynch and Citigroup, both of which almost went bankrupt, knew more than anyone about the hidden dangers in securities constructed out of subprime mortgages. But they still almost went bankrupt because they put these securities on their own balance sheets. One of my favorite quotes is from a former Merrill Lynch risk manager: "We fell for our own scam." After the crisis, there was some recognition of this from a very surprising source. Alan Greenspan, the former chairman of the Federal Reserve, who was a big believer that banks simply wouldn't make stupid loans because it wasn't in their interest to do so, said, "Those of us who have looked to the self-interest of lending institutions to protect shareholders' equity, myself included, are in a state of shocked disbelief." A variation of this is that I've begun to think there's a replacement for jumbo shrimp as the best oxymoron ever. The replacement might be risk management. Look no further than J.P. Morgan, which came through the crisis with flying colors, with accolades for having fantastic risk management that allowed it to avoid the worst mistakes, only to lose $6 billion in the summer of 2012 on a complicated derivatives bet gone wrong. Maybe risk is risk precisely because it can't be managed. Have respect for it. Don't ever be fooled into thinking the tools we've devised to measure it have truly tamed it. I think there's sometimes a tendency to believe that business is well-managed, colorless, orderly. People sometimes ask me, don't you want to move on from covering business to write about something exciting, like, politics? I always respond, the old adage, truth is stranger than fiction, applies perfectly to the business world. You really cannot make this stuff up. Anything, and I mean anything, can happen. From a major company like Enron proving to be a fraud, to powerful Wall Street firms and their imposing Manhattan skyscrapers teetering on the verge of bankruptcy, seemingly overnight. My first story for Vanity Fair was about a self-made technology mogul named Henry Nicholas, who founded a company called Broadcom. In the spring of 2008, he was indicted for stock options backdating. You're probably thinking, why is that a Vanity Fair story? He was also indicted for basically running a drug ring. Now Vanity Fair is starting to make more sense. But there's more. Another lawsuit was filed against Nicholas, in which a group of contractors alleged that he had built a lair under his house where he could secretly do drugs and do other things without his wife's knowledge. And now you say, Vanity Fair. I finished that story with a quote from Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin asks, "Do you believe in the devil? You know, a supreme evil being dedicated to the temptation, corruption, and destruction of man?" Replies Hobbes, "I'm not sure that man needs the help." I think lastly and most importantly is to remember that everything looks different in hindsight. Or to put it differently, the lens through which you see things is going to shift. Back in 2004, I wrote a story for Fortune about Goldman Sachs. I concluded with a quote from Lloyd Blankfein, who is now the company's CEO. He said, look, fortunes are going to be made, but the biggest risk is what you can't see today. That's why life is the ability to step outside yourself. to see that something that you can't see today, something that one day you'll hit yourself on the forehead and say, why didn't I see it that way? You won't be able to remember not having seen it, except that you'll remember not having seen it. To put it more simply, the best cliche of all is that hindsight is 20/20. And to all of you, I wish you the best as you go out into the world, and I hope that these lessons I've offered give you some sense when you confront those tough situations in life that these happen, and that you go forth and do great things in your career and prove part of that wonderful group of business people who contribute to the world and make it a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany, for this memorable speech. The candidates for master's degrees will now be presented. Dean Getz will make her recommendations to the Reverend President, and he in turn will confer the degrees.
Will the candidates for the master's degrees from the Quinlan School of Business please rise? Reverend President, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degrees Master of Business Administration, Master of Business Administration in Healthcare Management, Intercontinental Master of Business Administration, Master of Science Accountancy, Master of Science Finance, Master of Science Human Resources, Master of Science Information Systems Management, Master of Science Integrated Marketing Communications, and Master of Science Supply Chain Management. The candidates have fulfilled all the requirements for their degrees, and I recommend that the degrees be conferred upon them.
My dear candidates, upon the recommendation of the Dean of the Quinlan School of Business and its faculty, and by the authority granted to Loyola University Chicago by the state of Illinois, and delegated to me by the Board of Trustees of this university, I confer upon you the master's degrees for which you have been recommended. And as a sign of your new academic status, please don your hoods. And congratulations to you.
The candidates for baccalaureate degrees will now be presented. Dean Getz will make her recommendations to the Reverend President, and he in turn will confer the degrees.
Will the candidates for the bachelor's degrees from the Quinlan School of Business please rise? Reverend President, I have the pleasure of presenting to you the candidates for the degrees Bachelor of Business Administration Honors and Bachelor of Business Administration. The candidates have fulfilled all the requirements for their degrees, and I recommend that the degrees be conferred upon them.
My dear candidates, upon the recommendation of the Dean of the Quinlan School of Business and its faculty, and by the authority granted to Loyola University Chicago by the state of Illinois and delegated to me by the Board of Trustees of this university, I confer upon you the bachelor's degrees for which you have been recommended. And as a sign of your new academic status, please place your tassels on your left-hand side, and congratulations to you.
If you haven't been pulled out of your seat, please sit down. All right. The candidates for all master's degrees will now come forward by degree groups as directed by marshals to be recognized by name. Jennifer Huntley, Assistant Dean, will read the names of the candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats and hold your applause until the end of each degree group. Guests are not permitted to approach the stage to take photographs. Thank you for your cooperation.
Receiving the degree Master of Business Administration, Abdrabo Bilal Abdrabo. Sarah Joni M. Agapali. Erin Jane Alexander. Manuel Angel Alvarado Morales. Bob Amico. Predrag Andrazovic. Pier Giorgio Asandri. Jessica Barker. Mary Alice Berg. Nathaniel Michael Benteen. Isabel Danuta Bizub. Andrew Kenneth Blazaitis. Casey Bloomer. Ava M. Baguski. Amy Lynn Bordashuk. Jessica Bowerman. Mitchell Don Bradley. William George Brandt. Julie Beth Breckenfelder. Camille A. Brown. Peter Andrew Brown. Pauline G. Biusa. Michael Anthony Capasso. Patrick T. Carroll. Manaj H. Chand. Saif Chaudhry. Diana J. Klebeck. Altera Citron. Victor Emil Sizanowskis. Regina Alejandra Cotto. John Emmanuel Cruz. Tyler Mark Deachin. Bhavna Narayan Devray. Dunfeng Don. Amadi Duncan. Matt Eves. Diane M. Ebel. Ella S. Chavez. Inga Ivanchik. Angela Ferraro. Virginia Margaret Garbish. David S. Gutierrez. Johnny Sung Han. Andrew Edward Hanning. Heather L. Hansen. Eric J. Holler. Jeffrey D. Fargo. Leonard Howard Hudson III. Laura Jean Human. Ashley Anna Earl. Beth A. Janik. Peter Jurgis Jasitis. Molin Jiang. Brett Lee Jones. Kenneth David Jones. Virginius Kayokas. Sparsh Kejriwal. Sheila Kaiser. Courtney Lynn Kiss. Stephanie Marie Cox. Eric Danny Kofal. Elizabeth Jan Kondrat, Abigail Corey, Sonal Haru Kumar, Andrew Barnard Langheim, Mark Charles Law, Michael John Lazaretto, Michael Patrick Lepro, Chin Lian, Brian James Lillis, Alexander Michael Locke, Susan Beth Lorimer, Olga V. Lakova, Jacqueline H. Malagon, Azmith Masood, Laura Elizabeth Mead, Kimberly Meston, Anna Claudia Michelini, Izatula Mir, Shelby Alexandra Nake, Michaela Miniachi Netherton, Catherine Louise Osberg, Lauren Ashley Parker, Matthew Eric Parker, Micheline Parker, Jacqueline D. Peterson, Kevin Richard Ponziani, Kevin Charles Prey, Daniel Paul Raffensberger, Carmine V. Ramirez, Daniel Carl Regan, Nicole Christine Rydell, Gabriel Angel Rinconqueno, Catherine Elizabeth Roberts, Bruna B. Rodriguez, Diego Felipe Rodriguez, Christopher Michael Royer, Omer M. Sahi, Dale Martin Sana, Alejandro Sanchez, Mariano Sanchez, Lindsay Satira Sandel, Natasha P. Savlani, Mark Edward Schmidt, J. H. Schreiber, Chayut Sichanagi, Patrick Edward Silverio, Andy Slater, Joseph Frank Smalzer Jr., Marcy Elaine Sauder, Lauren Margaret Stanley, Nicholas Joseph Stephanie, Osama Abid Said, Sutimarn Tanarakchok, Jiaji Wang, Carrick Joe Wilsbacher, Natalie Jane Wood, Marcy L. Wright, Patrick Elonius Wright, Jillian Patrice Robel, Lu Xuan Yi, Wenjia Zhang, Jiasheng Zhu, Marco Zuccarello, receiving the degree, Master of Business Administration in Healthcare Management, Stephen Andrew Bush. Sandeep Chandra, Benjamin J. Kindam, Adenrele Adakunbi Kolawoli, Abraham Mathai, Lauren M. Nikiforak, Adrian Mircea Padurian, Srikanth V. Parimi, Courtney Janae Patterson, Lindsay M. Proctor, Arthi Rai, Alejandro G. Reyes, Chad J. Torstensen, Christopher Joseph Vichy, Sylvia Wallace, receiving the degree Intercontinental Masters of Business Administration, Saba Ahmed, Michael Rudolph Bertler, Tiffany Chan, Chelsea Nicole Foyer, Tom Feldhacker, Samuel Lucas Horn, Elizabeth Lee Johnson, George Mendoza Juden, Wayne M. Kimball Jr., Richard David Reitenbach, Sia Jiang Singhal, receiving the degree Master of Science in Accountancy, Sue Bai, Han Bao, Wenjun Shen, Uzi Don, Yuning Zhu, Han Guo, Yuchen Guo, Gloria Hernandez, Dinten Huang, Kinda Huang, Yao Li, Ya Liu, Yunwei Liu, Christopher James Mulcus, Amanda J. Manfredi, Joshua McConico, Xin Min, Stanislav Moldavsky, Shuyun Wuyang, Wenqin Ouyang, Bianca Alexandra Perez, Jason Michael Plowman, Wanzhou Qian, Catherine E. Rossi, Meng Shen, Amanda R. Tagliarino, Anthony George Zamopoulos, Brianna Monique Walker, Jiwen Wang, Menyang Wang, Shenjia Wang, Wen Wang, Dana Ann Walensky, Christopher Michael Williams, Chao Young, Jia Yao, Jiyin Ye, Ting Yu, Yi Yuan, Yuin Zhang, Cheng Zhang, Chengxin Zhang, Ni Zhang, Xiaomeng Zhang, Zhuyang Zhang, Xiaochun Zhou, Xinyi Zhu, Hanshang Zhuang, William K. Zuter, receiving the degree Master of Science Finance, Ray Chen, Lin Gao, Qilu Gao, Yu-Si Han, Jian Jia, Han Liu, Bo Liu, Lawrence Stephen Mace, Jennifer Sellers Mast, Kyle Robert Nesselhut, Hui Guak Win, Jushi Ni, Charles Rodriguez, Naushin Sharfuddin, Bistra Milcheva Stankov, Shichen Tung, Wipat Udam Kanjananan, Yuanlin Wang, Xiaoman Wu, Yan Zhang, Yajia Zhou, receiving the degree Master of Science Human Resource Management, Uche Ava Amu, Carrie L. Beeks, Isu Chern, Nicole Amber Drake, Shu Hui Fan, Ning Fu, Anna Gostine, Yu Huang, Eric Russell Larson, Alyssa Marie Miller, Matthew James Oswalt, Jason Kirk Plasto, Kathleen Elizabeth Plush, Linda Ann Russell, Yunxian Chung, receiving the degree Master of Science Integrated Marketing Communications, Yunsho Den, Yun Hong, Yong Liu, George John Michael, Caroline Diana O'Donnell, Rositsa Ivova Peshanova, Maura Elizabeth Shandley, receiving the degree Master of Science Supply Chain Management, Christian Kiran Lucio Briggs, Peng Fei Li, Richard Murphy, Marta Nicole Panozzo, that's all of the master's degree recipients. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jennifer. The candidates for all bachelor's degree will now come forward by degree group to be recognized by name as directed by marshals. Susan Reese, Assistant Dean, will read the names of the candidates. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats and hold your applause until each degree group has been recognized, or at least try to. Guests are not permitted to approach the stage to take photographs. Thank you for your cooperation. Candidates who have not yet been taken out of their rows will please remain seated.
All right, receiving the degree, Bachelor of Business Administration Honors, Davi Aragau, summa cum laude, Shannon Aileen Armstrong, cum laude, Trevor Warren Burton, magna cum laude, Alicia Lauren Carlson, cum laude, Stephen Ray Carpenter, Taylor Linnea Corsten, magna cum laude, Claire Maria DeGrazia, magna cum laude, Matthew Vayante DeVita, cum laude, Joseph Michael Gendusa, summa cum laude. Catherine Mary Glace, summa cum laude. Paige Kristen Hall, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Ann Harb, magna cum laude. Brian Scott Kenny, summa cum laude. Stephen Ryan Koblinski, cum laude. Stuart Samuel Lamke. Michael Paul Lemko, magna cum laude. Madeleine Reed L'Esperance, magna cum laude. George Conroy McIntyre. Stephanie Ann Nuccio, cum laude. Reedy Manish Patel. Alexia Plesiotis. Robert Edward Reuter, cum laude. Joseph Stanley Salam, cum laude. Bridget May Sanders, summa cum laude. Sonia Lorna Schnell, magna cum laude. Dilek Serbest. Vincenzo Alessandro Sposito. Alicia Marie Wagner, magna cum laude. Julie Anna Weiner, magna cum laude. Bachelor of Business Administration honors. Receiving the degree, Bachelor of Business Administration, Khaled W. Haddad. Patrick Charles Adler. Oscar Uginaga. Mohi F. Ali. Lloyd Anthony Allen. Ileana Elizabeth Alvarenga. Greta Claire Anderson, magna cum laude. Errol Saren Atak. Azra Atik. Rosalie Grace Atkinson, cum laude. Arturo Avicha, cum laude. Anna Bagalik. Alexandra Bandik. Ilya Banjiev. Fiona Emily Baki. Jeff Stephen Barak. Marcel Tad Barnard. Anthony Joseph Beaumont. Ryan Michael Budell, magna cum laude. Marina Bayless, cum laude. Sarah Anita Blachik. Philip Thomas Bona Jr. Hanain Zakia Bushareb, cum laude. Stephen Anthony Bova. Rebecca N. Brantley. Carolina Anna Bukowski. Alexandra Shaban Brown. Dylan Michael Burke. Lucas Bush. Connor Robert John Carrigal. Luis Daniel Carrasco. Angela Carrillo Rodriguez, cum laude. Stephen H. Shaw. John Philip Chambers, magna cum laude. Fabrice Chavan. Hao Bin Chen, magna cum laude. Yulia Chernavaskia, cum laude. James I. Cho. Zlatka T. Cholakova. Suni Yung Chung. Olivia L. Clark, cum laude. Carlos Claudio. Francis Thomas Cochrane. Alfonso Raimundo Cortez. Matthew Brent Cruz, summa cum laude. Nicholas Alexander Cullen. Timothy B. Cunningham. Alex John Kusumano. Andrea Catherine Zaranomsky. Michael Robert Dahlgren. Michael William Dardano. Courtney Marie Darren. Alexander Davis. Richard Adam Davis. Megan Samantha Del Sarto. Alex Dembowski. Lauren M. DiCola, cum laude. Sean Eric Dietz. Demetra Chris DeMiss. Katie Quinn Dooley. Anthony William Dubois. Mandaline Colette Dune, cum laude. Caroline Shea Dupuis. Azra Durmek. Jacqueline Marie Ellison. Arthur John Erickson Jr. Ian Erickson. Kimberly Elizabeth Evans. Carmelito Fabian. Carrie Jean Farley. Ishmael Abraham Figueroa. Kevin Logan Fisher, cum laude. Shannon Marie Fish, cum laude. Kirsten Ann Fleming, cum laude. Matthew Edward Fogarty. Alexander Paul Franco. Scott A. Fuller. Kinga Gasek, cum laude. Shannon Garavaglia, magna cum laude. Enrique Garcia. Ivan Garcia. Michelle Nicole Garcia. Laura Joan Gavin, magna cum laude. Anthony P. Genovese. Cassandra Gerber. Katrina J. Giankakis, cum laude. Tina Gigal. Mitchell Allen Gobo, cum laude. Emre Godinez. Derek Anthony Golan, cum laude. Louis Raymond Gomez. Shraddha Deepak Goradia. Cooper Theodore Graff. Enrico Greco. James Michael Green II, cum laude. Paige Alyssa Greenhill. Joseph Robert Groder. Shreya Grover, magna cum laude. Paulina Gutierrez Castillo. William Trent Haben, cum laude. Farhan Mohammed Haider. Shavana Ann Harden. Cole Thomas Hatfield. Charles Robert Hayes. John Joseph Hayes Jr., magna cum laude. Charles Richard Hyrene. Sean Patrick Hickey, magna cum laude. Jillian Marie Higley. Jacqueline June Herthy, cum laude. Claire Joan Hoodmaker. Jacob Hostetler. Ray Howe, magna cum laude. Sharita Catrice Houston. Grant William Hawksworth, cum laude. David Hollinger, magna cum laude. Shauna M. Hutchison, Hans Christian Vida, Kristen Helene Ignaz, E. cum laude, Francesco A. Engrafia, Diana Y. Isho, cum laude, Michael D. Ivanov, Alexander John Jacku, Daniel Seif Jacob, Alyssa Christine Jameson, cum laude, Muzamil Javid, Peter James Jenkins, cum laude, Audrey Victoria Johnson, Sims Simon Jose, Derek Allen Kappas, Lena S. Khatib, Devin Kaler, Vanessa Nicole Casmore, magna cum laude, Katrina Lee Keeney, magna cum laude, Alec Joseph Kenny, magna cum laude, Christian Martin Kingay, Rachel Christine Klotka, Alexandra Marie Klein, Joanna Paula Kluzowska, Vita Kormich, magna cum laude, Nicole M. Kowalski, Thomas James Latronica, Marissa Renee Laga, magna cum laude, Constantina Betty Laberis, Hee-Jun David Lee, Laura Michelle Lee, Danielle Joseph Lavine, John Christian Loftus, Justina Lukoshanaithi, Annabelle Lenhart Lucas, Ashley May Lutenegger, summa cum laude, Kevin T. Moss, Marley Marie McLean, cum laude, Michelle Magsamen, Yulia Maker, Julianne Regina Mandara, David Allen Manti, Mabel Martinez, Drake Tyler Mason, Kelsey Lee Matthew, Jenna Christine Matthias, Morgan Casey Maxwell, Mackenzie Ian McDonald, Megan Rochelle McDonald, John Thomas McKeon, Joseph Vincent McLaughlin, cum laude, Asif Merchant, Michael James Miller, Victor A. Miller, cum laude, Catherine Elizabeth Mingram, Catherine Lee Minnick, Yannick Aznar Montenegro, Kitura Vinlia Montgomery, Nicolay A. Nomacek, Elizabeth Marie Navarro, Daniela Lavinia Nikula, Daniel Nicholas Ballack, Christopher James Nielsen, cum laude, Shayna Joelle Nonanto, magna cum laude, Lindsay Nicole Norton, cum laude, Araceli Ortiz, Anna M. O'Shea, cum laude, Jennifer Antigue Osoteo. Isabella Palacios, cum laude. Alex Panek. Julia Catherine Park. Quinn Kelly Patterson. Reed Nicholas Patterson. James Patrick Parikh. Natalie Elizabeth Perkins, cum laude. William Edward Pilchak. Patricia Yvette Pineda. Nicholas Pliakis. Kyler Ashton Powell, magna cum laude. Miriam Surfares Kadri. Lisa Elaine Raby. Stephen Richard Reitzman. Joseph Anthony Ramos. Eric Arthur Ranke. Marta Elena Rangel. Anna Maria Rebazant, magna cum laude. Adam Joseph Renninger. Nelly Rentas. Anthony Eduardo Reyes. Sarah Reyna. Nicholas David Richmond, summa cum laude. Ryan Allen Riefenberg. Casey Matthew Richall. Daniel William Robbins. Nestor A. Rodriguez. Sandra Liliana Rodriguez. John Deneen Rohr. Benjamin Thomas Rosenbach. Andres E. Rosenthal. Juan Carlos Rubio Leon. Alexandra Lang Reevy, cum laude. Melanie Key Ruiz, summa cum laude. Joanna T. Rushkova. Olya Stavanova Ruseva. Tashe Marshawn Rush. Daniel Brian Salganic. Roselle Sandoval. Caitlin Elizabeth Sappington, cum laude. Marta Anna Savitska. Kevin Arthur Schaefer. Sarah Catherine Schaefer. Kimberly Marie Schaller, cum laude. John Schmidt, cum laude. Nathan Joseph Schnurr. Philip Ryan Schultz. Yampero Scottini. Jennifer O. Seeby. David Gunas Shaker. Eric Serrano. Stephen Hale Shabazian. Raquel Lauren Shane. Ian Francis Edward Sherwood. Samuel David Schultz, summa cum laude. Timothy Sideropoulos, cum laude. Jonas Saleka, cum laude. Zachary Joseph Silva. Guillermo Jose Simon Oliveras, magna cum laude. Rebecca Kate Smart. Jordan Alexandra Smith. Claudia Smakowska, magna cum laude. Kyle James Spoo. Thomas Statlander. Sarah Ray Stanzik. Alexander James Stoll, cum laude. Ryan Michael Sullivan. Bridget Elizabeth Sweeney. Gabriella Chevchik, cum laude. Annette Stephanie Shkarwala. Daria Jenny Shemansky. Anita Talia. Sarah Joy Thaler. Brittany Ann Teeley. Brian Alexander Thomas. Timothy P. Tiernan Jr. Janera Maria Torres. Antonio R. Tristino. Thomas John Truba. Elizabeth Erin Underwood, cum laude. Alexander Ralph Uranso. Brian Christopher Vandemotor. Max Ryan Van Houten. Chase Francis Vedrodi. Therese Mary Weber. Gabriela Walutska. Nicholas Francis Willenborg. Dwayne E. Williams Jr. Jun Shu. Ki-Young J.E. Peter Janusz Zaleski. Lizette S. Zamora.
Congratulations to all the graduates, and thank you, Susan, for the spirited reading of the names. Following the closing prayer, the marshals will escort the graduates to the reception area in the Information Commons, where you can meet them to congratulate them. Please remain in your seats until the graduates have exited the auditorium. At this time, I invite the Reverend President Michael J. Garanzini to give a final blessing.
Well, before we go, we have three brief things to do. The first is I'd like you to help me thank our two speakers, Gabriella and Bethany, for the wonderful talks that they gave. I'd also like you to help me thank your faculty who got you to this day. So if they will stand up, we can thank them properly. I want to leave you with a very brief poem. The poem is by Maya Angelou, and she says, I think, she sums up what we hope you will take from Loyola and take from this day. She says, are you prepared to work to make this country, our country, more than it is today? For that is the job to be done. That is the reason you have worked hard. Your sacrifices of time and hard work, of energy, the monies of your parents or of government have been paid so that you can transform your country and your world. Look beyond your tasseled caps and you will see injustice. At the end of your fingertips, you will find cruelties, irrational hate, bedrock sorrow, and terrifying loneliness. There is your work. Make a difference. Use this degree, which you have earned, to increase virtue in the world. Your people, all people, are hoping that you would be the ones to do so. Maya Angelou. Congratulations, graduates. Now we have one last thing. Here at Loyola we have a custom. We ask those who have come to see this great day with you and to celebrate, we ask them to send you on your way as you commence a new life. And so I'd ask them to help me with this final blessing. Inside your program booklet, on the first cover, inside cover, is a little card, a little prayer card. And I'd ask those of you that have come here today to celebrate with these graduates to now bless them. So I'd ask you to stand, and we'll put our hands out over them and send them in this blessing, which we will say together. Together, may the Lord bless you and sustain you on this, your graduation day. May the Creator of this vast universe keep you safe as you go forth from this place that has nourished your mind and your soul. May the Almighty look down upon you and give you success in all your endeavors, courage in all your struggles and challenges, understanding in all that is new to you, wisdom to choose what is right and do what is good, perseverance in all you undertake, serenity in peace, and the knowledge that you are not alone, that you are loved. May the Lord of all look kindly upon you this day and forever. Amen. Let's go forth.
you.